Alright, today let's go over some of the most absurd mistakes to have ever been made on MasterChef. And this contestant right here took cheating to new heights.
You put 4 ramekins in the blast chiller. I just pulled out the same 4. You served us Jamie's panna cotta.
You see, Tyler was prepared to give it his all in the competition, but then something unexpected and unfortunate happened.
Now the top 16, it's an incredible feeling. I'm a country boy from Wilmington, Ohio.
I mean, was a home cook really accused of cheating? What kind of scandalous behavior are we discussing here? Could it have been real cheating, or was there more to the story? Let's dive in to find out. Tyler was busy arranging everything for his dish, and it seemed like he was on track for success. But the sudden twist caught everyone by surprise, leaving the judges and contestants questioning what really went down.
Got it in there and at least gave it enough time to set nicely.
But then, things took a serious turn. To put it briefly, Tyler ended up presenting a dish that wasn't his own. That's right, he served Jamie's dish to the judges instead of his own creation, leaving everyone in shock and raising questions about what happened.
What the?
However, we already know who was responsible for taking the pan. Whether it was an accident or intentional, it was definitely a huge blunder.
3 blindfolds.
Blindfolds.
Is there anything you want to tell me about this dish?
It was unprecedented for such a significant mistake to occur in the kitchen. As Chef Ramsay exclaimed, this kind of error had never happened before.
They did not cook.
What do you mean, Chef?
Stay there.
Chef Ramsay quickly made his way to the fridge to investigate what had happened. Tyler, who was involved, seemed completely unaware of the situation and was left baffled by the events unfolding around him.
I don't know if they got switched. I don't know,
Okay.
Chef.
You didn't. They're on the bottom shelf, bottom left-hand side.
It was incredibly embarrassing for everyone involved to experience such a mishap, especially in front of someone like Chef Ramsay. It was really unfortunate for poor Tyler, but rules are rules. Still, the judges wanted to have a discussion on what to do next.
I'm afraid Joe, Graham, and myself need a few seconds to catch up. Stay there.
Tyler was disqualified from the competition, but he had things to say before leaving the MasterChef kitchen.
I'm sorry. I had no intent on doing that.
I'm sorry that you grabbed mine.
It really was an emotional turning point. Anyway, up next is Tony. So this dude had very little screen time, but very noticeable screw-ups. For instance, in episode 6, Tony had a hard time with the hamburger and seasoning that messed up the timing and flow for the blue team.
It's just bland. That was bland.
He was making the mix without even tasting it. That's stupid. Things first started lagging behind on the burgers.
Look at the line. Making people wait for burgers is not going to win the competition.
Not surprising why the team ultimately lost. And then came the pressure test. All 8 competitors had 60 minutes to whip up spinach ricotta ravioli. When time was up, the judges tasted each dish.
It's just so thick and so heavy.
Yeah, Tony once again dropped the ball. It was too dense.
Thickness of the pasta's all here.
A dish like this, I don't even know how to eat this.
And Joe mentioned how he struggled to even eat it.
Quite frankly, what this dish should be is a ravioli that looks something like this.
Well, sadly, the dish got him eliminated.
You have a very passionate take on food, and you can cook, let me tell you.
But you know what? I cannot stand that smug smirk on Max's face. I have to mention this though. After the show, Tony was really successful. He had a restaurant named Old Crow Smokehouse that has 2 locations and survived the pandemic. You can give it a visit if you are in Chicago. But sadly, he isn't among us anymore. Rest in peace, my man. But this next contestant narrowly dodged the dreaded bullet of elimination. Next is MasterChef Season 8, Episode 18. So Jeff found himself on a wild ride, and let me tell you, he was really feeling the pressure. The heat was on when Kate, who had just won the Mystery Box Challenge, put him in the hot seat.
That did their family proud, did themselves proud.
He was sweating bullets, knowing he was up against a tough challenge. Kate had the advantage this time, and she decided to make things interesting by giving Jeff only 20 minutes to cook. Can you imagine the pressure of that?
Kate wants me to go home. She's going to fail miserably. Lemon, butter.
You could practically feel the tension in the air as the clock ticked down. But Jeff wasn't going to let the pressure get to him. Instead of backing down, he decided to give it his all. In those 20 minutes, he managed to whip up a dish that was so delicious, it could make your mouth water just thinking about it.
Like with a Mediterranean vibe to it there, with a little bit of feta cheese and sun-dried tomato.
He proved he could handle the pressure in the kitchen. Picture this. He prepared a salmon fillet with a Mediterranean twist, topped with feta cheese and sun-dried tomato relish. Sounds fancy, right? But that's not all.
It takes 8 to 10 minutes to cook. Just cook the salmon skin side down and do an amazing garnish.
He also whipped up a dish of apple, pear, and cucumber gratin with cranberries and stout beer. Now, that's ambitious cooking. Things got intense when Ramsay arrived on the scene.
It's raw. Are you trying to poison me?
Jeff was sure he'd done well, but under Chef Ramsay's watchful eye, his confidence wavered and anxiety crept in. To make matters worse, the salmon was a little undercooked. In the end, what started as a confident display of culinary skills turned into a tense moment in the kitchen. Jeff's ambitious menu impressed everyone, but the undercooked salmon highlighted the challenges of working under pressure, especially with Chef Ramsay observing closely. In the heat of the kitchen, Chef Ramsay grilled Jeff about the state of his salmon.
Stout and cranberries and gratin and cucumber and raw salmon with feta cheese don't go.
Chef Ramsay, known for his fiery personality, questioned whether Jeff had cooked the salmon to a perfect medium rare, which was what they were aiming for. Ramsay wasn't in the mood to be gentle, and it was clear he wasn't about to hold back his opinion. Not surprisingly, Chef Ramsay let loose when Jeff presented a salmon that was undercooked and more on the rare side.
Bullseye, Kate. Jeff did everything that I hoped he would.
Chef Ramsay delivered his feedback to Jeff bluntly, without any softening. Meanwhile, Jeff wasn't going to take Chef Ramsay's harsh criticism without putting up a fight. He defended his choice to serve the rare salmon as if his culinary reputation depended on it, standing firm and sticking to his decision despite the intense pressure. Let's be honest, Jeff's excuse about wanting his dish rare was as believable as spotting a unicorn.
But you're not going to lecture me that that's how you wanted to cook the salmon, because the salmon's raw, Jeff.
Chef Ramsay saw right through it, knowing that Jeff couldn't have cooked that salmon properly in just 20 minutes. Despite being caught red-handed, Jeff stubbornly stuck to his story, refusing to admit any fault. Chef Ramsay, known for his sharp ability to call out falsehoods, wasn't letting Jeff off the hook.
So that way then it kind of had that nice little bit of a sauce to it there.
Chef Ramsay broke down Jeff's dish, examining every ingredient. He criticized each part of the dish, proving that Jeff's excuse didn't hold up and showing exactly where Jeff had gone wrong. Chef Ramsay's thorough inspection made it clear that Jeff's claim was far from the truth. Jeff had everything he needed: raw salmon, cucumber, apple gratin, and feta cheese. But despite having all the right ingredients, they didn't come together well at all. Jeff might have thought he could outsmart Chef Ramsay, but Ramsay wasn't fooled. He made it clear to everyone that Jeff's dish was far from impressive.
No. Couldn't be raw. But why do you serve it raw?
So, what happened next? Trust me, it was a complete disaster.
I felt for you and given 20 minutes. But you're not going to lecture me that that's how you wanted to cook the salmon.
The situation turned out to be incredibly embarrassing for Jeff, showing that no matter how good the ingredients are, if they aren't put together properly, it's all for nothing. Chef Ramsay's reaction was blunt and left no room for doubt about how poorly Jeff's dish was executed. And with that, Jeff had to pack his knives and leave the MasterChef kitchen for good. Now, moving on, in Season 8 of MasterChef, things really started to heat up for the top 10. The contestants were given mystery boxes brimming with some of California's finest ingredients. We're talking Santa Barbara prawns, sea urchin, wasabi, avocado, grapefruit, you name it. They had a top-tier version of it. In that box, these ingredients were carefully selected to honor the guest judge for the night, Jonathan Waxman, who is a culinary legend if you're not familiar with him. And impressing a guy like Waxman, not a walk in the park.
You will cook us a dish that must use all 5 of those Californian ingredients.
And yes, you guessed it, all 5 ingredients were mandatory, but as usual, there was a twist. Working with prawns can be nerve-wracking since they're delicate and prone to overcooking. I'm sure most of you have had the misfortune of eating rubbery, bland shrimp before. However, Chef Ramsay had a stroke of genius. He suggested making sea urchin butter and brushing it on the grilled prawns. And guess what? Tay was already on it. Throughout the challenge, the judges made their rounds, offering advice and cheering the cooks on. That's when Joe had an unexpected spicy encounter at Tay's station.
So it's got a little kick to it, so I'm gonna do, I've got the avocado crema right here.
But Tay? He wasn't fazed at all. He was brimming with confidence and couldn't wait for the judges to taste his dish. Meanwhile, Joseph found himself in a bit of a predicament with Chef Ramsay.
Look at the clock. Why are you cooking the spot prawns now with 35 minutes?
Talk about jumping the gun. This move could definitely land him in the bottom 3.
I'm gonna get you in the bottom 3 for sure, so you need to figure out another plan.
Hey, quick.
Joseph had no choice but to scramble and look around for more prawns.
Do you have an extra prawn? Extra prawn, extra prawn? Thank you.
Luckily, he managed to score a few spare prawns from Anne and Lexi. But by this point, Joseph was totally flustered and the judges were keeping a close eye on him. Then, just as things were wrapping up, the worst possible thing happened.
I left my uni butter in the refrigerator, dog. Like,
Yeah, I can't believe Tay left the star of his dish, the prawns, in the refrigerator. Classic rookie mistake. Unsurprisingly, Tay found himself in the bottom 3. His dish was incomplete after all, but the judges wanted to give him a chance anyway.
After you, chef. Please. Thank you.
And guess what? With the uni butter, his dish was spot on.
The acidity, the grapefruit, beautiful. I'm screaming.
Chef Ramsay complimented the deliciously cooked prawns, and Chef Waxman suggested that if Tay hadn't forgotten the butter, it would have taken the dish to the next level. It was pretty clear that Tay didn't have the worst dish of the night. That honor belonged to Joseph.
You didn't do the task we asked you to do. Create a California-inspired dish.
None of the judges seemed to like what Joseph presented, especially Chef Waxman.
So, I'm flummoxed.
It's a dish gone wrong.
And Joe? Well, you can already guess his reaction.
What a waste.
Thank you, Joseph.
Although Joseph's dish was the worst, Tay had broken a rule by not using all 5 ingredients. And well, if you watch season 7, you know what happens to rule breakers.
The rules. Tay, you made the sea urchin butter, but you didn't use it.
So, despite serving up the best dish of the night, Tay found his MasterChef journey coming to an end, just like Andrea before him. Well, rules are rules, right? Anyway, here comes a contestant who made both fans and haters alike. You see, throughout her time on the show, Courtney, the winner of MasterChef Season 5, usually dazzled with her culinary prowess and eye-catching presentations. However, there was this one notorious episode where she would have crashed and burned, but somehow she managed to stay afloat. Talk about luck, or was it something else entirely? In a twist of fate, Iran, the winner of the previous round, bestowed upon Courtney the power to choose the dish for the dreaded pressure test.
I think that her lamb looks raw.
No, it's medium rare.
So, what did she go for? Drum roll, please.
Lamb with red quinoa and rainbow chard, a carrot puree.
Donuts. But don't be fooled, because donuts might seem like child's play, but as Graham pointed out, it's very tricky to perfect them. But things were about to take a turn for the worse. Courtney, knowing full well the importance of yeast in donut making, ended up making a rookie mistake. She first instructed everyone to grab some yeast, effectively draining the pantry of this crucial ingredient.
It has the shallots. Everything is really spot on. You know, it looks like it came out of a restaurant.
No eggs in the dough and no yeast left. Talk about a recipe for disaster.
Matched with fragrance, matched with great finesse. Stunning, absolutely stunning.
But wait, the worst was yet to come. Frances, sensing Courtney's impending doom, came to the rescue and handed her some yeast. Now, you might be thinking, problem solved, right? Wrong. The burning question remained. Could Courtney salvage this donut disaster and turn it into a culinary masterpiece? Would she be able to whip up a delectable delight despite the odds stacked against her?
There we go, the cake's out.
So here's what happened. Courtney, ever the resilient contestant, rolled up her sleeves and got to work. With a dash of creativity and a sprinkle of determination, she transformed her dire situation into an opportunity to shine. Despite the initial setback, Courtney managed to conjure up a batch of donuts.
I have to say that I think it's brilliant.
Thank you, sir.
But was she able to whip up the perfect batch? Well, it looked quite presentable, I'll tell you that. But as Chef Ramsay took a bite, it showcased a whole different story.
It's brilliant.
Thank you, sir.
It is really elevating.
Yes, he spat it right out like it was the worst thing he'd ever tasted. Turns out, there was an unforgivable mistake she had committed.
I mean, not only eat it with my palate and my mouth, but also digest it with my brain.
I mean, who messes up donuts that bad? Chef Ramsay's reaction was priceless.
The presentation, obviously, not what you wanted.
But wait, it gets even crazier. Because when Joe and Graham stepped up, they were in for a salty shock. Can you imagine how embarrassing that must have been, serving up salty donuts on a cooking show? Talk about a kitchen nightmare.
Meringues taste delicious. I'm amazed you got them. Crisp on the outside, gooey and just right in the center.
And it's not just the judges, even the other contestants were probably snickering behind their backs. I mean, come on, mistaking salt for sugar? That's like cooking 101 gone wrong.
This is a grapefruit and olive oil semolina cake, soaked in a grapefruit syrup.
But, well, I can never figure how Courtney dodged the bullet that day. In fact, some viewers even think that the judges played favoritism, because of which Courtney managed to stay on. And not just stay on, but managed to win the season as well. But, well, not all are as lucky as Courtney. You see, Mark Raffaelli embarked on a culinary journey when he stepped into the MasterChef kitchen during season 2. His journey was a roller coaster ride of highs and lows, showcasing both potential and pitfalls. Ranked in 17th place, Mark's time on the show was marked by a series of simple mistakes that ultimately led to his early elimination. And what's more, it wasn't even a major mistake like Courtney's. It was nothing more than a petty mistake. So what happened is, in the bustling kitchen of MasterChef, contestants faced the daunting task of creating culinary masterpieces under intense pressure. Mark, with a glimmer of promise, showed early potential that caught the eye of the judges. However, it was the simple errors that made him stumble along the way. As the challenges unfolded, Mark found himself in a whirlwind of elimination rounds.
French or British cuisine?
I have no idea what's in store for us.
Spoiler alert, he chose French. Despite the chaos, Mark managed to secure a safe spot after 2 grueling rounds. It was during one such challenge that Christian, wielding his power from a previous win, selected a dish for the contestants to prepare. The kitchen was a frenzy of activity as Mark hurriedly searched for the required ingredients.
Has anyone seen time?
I have no idea what I'm gonna cook.
Amidst the frantic pace, Graham sensed Mark's determination and held high hopes for him. However, a pivotal moment arrived when the chef questioned Mark's confidence in his dish. It was a moment of truth as Mark, perhaps feeling the weight of the competition, stumbled in his response.
French restaurants?
No.
Okay. So you're kind of flying blind?
Yes.
Okay.
With unwavering determination, Mark presented his creation to the judges, a peppercorn-crusted filet.
Creamy rosemary garlic mashed with a béarnaise sauce.
You normally put béarnaise sauce on your steak?
However, the excitement quickly turned to dismay when Joe discovered a grave error.
Flour?
I had a little bit of starch because it was
Raw?
liquidy.
There's raw flour in here.
Unbeknownst to Mark, raw flour had found its way into the mashed potatoes. Yes, raw flour.
There's raw flour in here.
What?
That is a severe technical error to serve raw.
It had turned a potentially exquisite dish into a culinary disaster. Seeing this, Chef Ramsay pitched in to express his disappointment.
That you can never do in cooking, and adding flour, liquid mashed potato, is one of them.
And nope, he didn't stop there.
I was praying that someone else's dish was worse than mine.
Raw flour and mashed potatoes is deemed a culinary sin, a mistake that should never have been made. And Mark, realizing the gravity of his error, stood in the spotlight of scrutiny.
But adding flour to mashed potatoes like that without cooking them down is a big no-no.
The tension in the kitchen was palpable as Mark awaited the judge's verdict. Despite the unfortunate mishap, there lingered a glimmer of hope that perhaps Mark's overall performance would outweigh this misstep. However, as the judges deliberated, Mark knew that his fate hung in the balance.
Lord, please.
In the end, the decision was made. Mark's journey on MasterChef abruptly came to an end.
Nevertheless, it was an amazing experience, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
The raw flour incident had sealed his fate, and he bid farewell to the competition with a heavy heart. It was a lesson learned in the unforgiving world of culinary arts. Even the simplest of mistakes could lead to a swift exit. Reflecting on his time on MasterChef, Mark admitted that the highs of potential and the lows of mistakes had sculpted him into a better chef, ready to tackle future culinary endeavors with newfound wisdom. As he bid farewell to the MasterChef kitchen, Mark carried with him the lessons learned and the determination to rise above any culinary challenge that came his way. So, here's a question for you. Now that you saw how Courtney and Mark's dish turned out, who do you think deserved a second chance? Are salty donuts better than finding raw flour in the dish? What would your judgment be had you been the judge on MasterChef? Make sure to let me know in the comments below. Anyway, moving on to episode 6 of season 9, the challenge for the contestants was to create the perfect banana cream pie. Now, banana cream pie isn't just any dessert, it's a magnificent creation combining a flaky pie crust, luscious custard, caramelized bananas, and a layer of perfectly whipped cream. This delightful dish, while mouth-wateringly delicious, is notoriously difficult to get right. The pressure was on for the contestants.
Banana cream pie.
Creating a banana cream pie is an art. It's all about balance. The custard needs to be smooth and rich, the bananas just the right level of sweetness, and the whipped cream light and fluffy. Using banana-flavored extract was strictly forbidden.
Make sure you're tempering that cream even and smooth.
Crust.
A cookie crumb crust? Completely out of the question. Adding too much sugar? That was considered a cardinal sin. The key to a perfect banana cream pie lies in the pastry cream, a delicate concoction of egg yolks, cornstarch or flour, and sugar cooked slowly over low heat until thickened, then enriched with vanilla and butter. Unfortunately for one contestant named Farhan, things didn't go quite as planned. Somehow, he missed the memo on the critical elements of this pie. As the judges, renowned chefs with decades of experience, examined his creation, the flaws were painfully obvious. His pie turned out flat, with a whipped cream topping so soft that one might need a straw to eat it. It was a disappointing showing in a high-stakes challenge.
It's this bit here, it's wobbling. Have you made the cream firm enough?
Then there was Derek. Of all the things, he found himself in a heated exchange with Chef Ramsay. Derek's pie lacked the essential vanilla bean, and it was overwhelmingly sweet. But guess what made matters worse?
Derek, why not?
First time making...
Just a mouthful of shit.
Well, it looked like Derek had never whipped cream in his life. The whipped cream on his pie was far from the ideal light and airy texture. Astonishingly, he hadn't practiced making the pie before the competition, a glaring oversight for such a crucial challenge.
Why did you come here?
I wanted to learn and become a better chef.
Realizing his errors, Derek knew his fate was sealed. With calm composure, he accepted the inevitable outcome. He untied his apron and handed it back, knowing that his journey in the competition had come to an end. Despite the disappointment, Derek took it in stride. He might not have wowed the judges with his banana cream pie, but he held his head high, acknowledging that he had given it his best shot.
You just run out of steam. Continue cooking, and good luck.
Meanwhile, the other contestants breathed a sigh of relief, knowing they had survived another round. The banana cream pie challenge had proven to be a true test of their culinary skills. The pressure cooker environment of the competition had pushed them to their limits, but those who managed to create a delicious pie moved one step closer to culinary glory.
Okay. You are safe. Head up to the balcony and take off that black apron.
Thank you.
The episode highlighted the difficulty and precision required in baking. It wasn't just about following a recipe, it was about understanding the science behind the ingredients and the techniques. Each element, from the flaky crust to the silky custard and the airy whipped cream, needed to be executed perfectly. I mean, I'm sure this episode might have served as both entertainment and a lesson in baking for the viewers, including myself. The sight of caramelized bananas being layered into a crust, custard being carefully stirred to the right consistency, and cream being whipped to just the right texture was as educational as it was mouth-watering. And if you ask me, the high drama of the competition, coupled with the technical details of baking, made for a captivating watch. In the end, the banana cream pie challenge was a reminder of why baking is considered both an art and a science. It requires not just skill, but also patience, precision, and a deep understanding of how flavors and textures come together. For the contestants, it was a humbling experience. For Derek, it was the end of his journey on the show, but for others, it was a chance to prove their mettle and continue on their path to becoming a master chef. You see, if there's one thing to know while in a competition, it's to be prepared and expect the unexpected. You might think you're all set, but surprises can throw you off course. Just like what happened with the naked sushi. I know it's a weird name, but oh boy, the context is even weirder. Christian, a home cooking enthusiast from the flashy city of Las Vegas, made a dramatic entrance into the culinary scene. And when I say dramatic, I mean dramatic.
Home cook Christian from Las Vegas is about to make a naked play.
He's not just cooking for the judges, he's gearing up for a rather unconventional attempt to win their favor. And who's joining him in this culinary quest? Initially, it seemed like a husband and wife team ready to stir things up. Oh, wait, my mistake. It's actually a friend. With a mischievous grin, Christian revealed his grand creation, a dish he had eagerly anticipated serving. But as the judges' eyebrows shot up in surprise, it was clear this wasn't just any tasting session.
Are you competing for MasterChef? Is this your dish?
One of the judges sputtered in disbelief. Wait, that was the last thing I expected. Their eyes widened as they looked at the table, unsure of what was coming next. Christian, however, beamed with pride, declaring it a masterpiece. But before anyone could fully grasp what was happening, the big reveal came. Body sushi. Wait, what? Instead of serving sushi on traditional plates or platters, Christian had chosen to use a living canvas, his partner's stomach. This unexpected presentation led to a mix of raised eyebrows and nervous laughter.
Body sushi. Watch out.
As soy sauce dripped clumsily from its unusual container, the judges exchanged doubtful looks.
You just poured soy sauce over your lady's tummy.
Struggling to keep a serious expression. Amid the confusion, a new issue came up. Who should be the first to try it?
Okay, my question is, who goes first?
Maybe all three at the same time.
Let's go.
The judges glanced nervously at the sushi spread, unsure if they were prepared for this unusual dining experience. It felt undeniably awkward to eat from an unorthodox presentation, and the thought of diving in was unsettling. As the awkwardness settled in, a wave of hesitation swept over them. They faced a choice. to embrace the unconventional, or to back away from what had turned into a rather unexpected and uncomfortable moment. Chef Ramsay wasn't holding back with his jokes, which were kind of awkward, especially as he looked at the soy sauce situation with a mix of horror and fascination.
This is not the kind of place I want to find a hair in my food.
Absolutely.
Despite this, Christian took over and began to explain every single detail of his dish with an enthusiasm that seemed almost fanatical.
Honey soy vinaigrette on the right-hand side.
It was quite a blunder for Christian to go into such detail about the dish while pointing at all the condiments on the table. On one hand, his dedication was impressive, but on the other hand, it felt a bit silly. He was so focused on explaining every little thing that he missed how his detailed explanations were not always necessary or practical. But as the judges hesitantly reached for their chopsticks, a sense of unease lingered in the air.
Don't ask for dessert. No. No. Thank you both.
Even though Christian was excited about his culinary experiment, it was obvious that this might have been too unconventional for some. As the judges carefully tasted the sushi, served on Christian's friend's body no less, there was an awkward mix of tension and disbelief in the room. The judges' unsure expressions and the strange presentation made it clear that this culinary idea might have been a bit too experimental for everyone involved. The lady, however, seemed more glad than anything else.
Gordon Ramsay ate sushi off of me.
But hey, in the chaotic world of competition, it seems like anything is possible. Or is it?
Nope. At the end of the day, it's a cooking competition. I have to say no.
As Christian and his partner stood proudly next to their creation, they realized they might have made a mistake. Despite their confidence, they couldn't ignore the feeling that they might not have achieved what they intended. But here comes another contestant who was even more controversial than Christian. Now, David from season 7 was just plain awful, from throwing bottles to insulting people and justifying it all as his passion for winning. This dude was seriously messed up. It's unbelievable they brought him back and even placed him in the final. That kind of attitude is seriously off-putting. What really got to me was how he kept using his daughter as an excuse. But the moment things didn't go his way, he was all set to throw a tantrum and give up. So in episode 16, it was all about showcasing a single ingredient picked by a visiting family member aiming for restaurant quality dishes. Each of the 5 chefs received their unique ingredient. Dan got blackberries, Brandy worked with corn on the cob, Tenoria had peaches, David tackled cherries, and Sean was handed Parmesan Reggiano. After an intense 60 minutes of cooking, the judges narrowed it down to a top 3, Dan, Tenoria, and Sean. The big victory of the day belonged to Sean. His dish propelled him into the top 4, earning him not just a win, but also a fun and rather dramatic advantage over his fellow contestants. Now, in the elimination challenge, the remaining contestants were granted the liberty to handpick any 20 ingredients they desired to craft what they hoped would be the perfect meal to impress the judges. Sounds like a breeze for a MasterChef challenge, right? Well, that's exactly the trap they walked into. Just as they returned with their brimming shopping baskets, Dan, Tenoria, David, and Brandy were hit with the bombshell. They wouldn't be using the carefully selected ingredients they had chosen. Instead, they were about to embark on a cooking marathon using the ingredients from someone else's basket.
You will each be cooking with someone else's dream basket.
Devious? Absolutely. But also wonderfully diabolical, don't you think? To add an extra layer of intrigue, Sean was granted the power to shuffle these baskets around, deciding whose ingredients each chef would have to work with.
That's good.
You don't make a lot of sense, brother. I'm just saying you don't make sense.
David's fiery temper reared its ugly head once more, but this time it was a full-blown eruption. He had his heart set on dazzling the judges with a homemade pasta creation. However, when he was handed Dan's basket filled with a jumble of Asian-based ingredients and a package of smoked trout, David went off the rails.
You get protein, and then I get this, and no,
It's pretty unnerving to witness, as he unleashed a string of curses aimed at Sean for the basket selection, and Dan for choosing ingredients that seemingly stumped David. In a dramatic move, he stormed off in protest.
David's walking out.
David! David!
But Chef Ramsay intervened, chasing after him and persuading him to get back to the kitchen. The burning question was, why? If David's default reaction to setbacks is an explosive meltdown, why not let him exit like the quitter that he is?
I am not going to let you walk out of this competition like that. You are better than that.
But was he? He attempted to make amends, attributing his outburst to earlier emotions from seeing his daughter. However, that doesn't excuse his behavior. I was shocked to see him walk out on Ramsay, ignoring the calls to come back.
David! David, come here!
The sheer arrogance. And then Ramsay actually went to the lengths of making him return. Mind-boggling. Why did he have to stroke his already bloated ego?
You can salvage out those ingredients. Come on, you are not going to quit.
Honestly, I was shocked to see him getting babied by Ramsay of all people.
I want David gone. He has no respect for anybody except himself.
Exactly. Moving on, who would have thought that we'd witness a white Italian guy schooling a Lebanese woman on crafting falafel? Well, Joe made it happen. In the vegan challenge in season 12, Amanda shared that her Lebanese-influenced culinary style leans towards vegetarian fare. Her standout dish, the falafel, was a tribute to a recipe passed down from her grandmother, brimming with sentimental value.
My mother taught me on making Lebanese falafel. It's what I grew up on.
It's not about what he said, but how he said it. The patronizing tone that left many viewers feeling rightly outraged, accusing Joe of being full of microaggressions. And honestly, can you refute it? He has shown some shocking disdain towards non-European cuisine. For example, in season 4, Bethy made a plate of Szechuan noodles with wild mushrooms in the Mushroom Elimination Challenge. Graham said that the dish didn't shine due to its lack of focus on the mushrooms. Meanwhile, Chef Ramsay pointed out an excess of sesame oil and a bit of a one-dimensional flavor. And these are fair criticisms. But then, Joe had a whole different opinion about it.
When I heard that you were doing something Asian, I was a little bit surprised, first of all.
And nope, he wasn't done yet.
Eurocentric, either French or Italian or, something much more refined.
Anyway, despite the seemingly simple nature of her falafel, Amanda crushed it and won. And Joe went as far as labeling it perfect, but still questioned whether perfection in falafel would be enough to secure immunity. Surprise, surprise, it was more than enough. Its unassuming charm masked the intricate flavors and elements within. What's more, Ramsay chimed in, praising it as street food taken to new heights of restaurant quality. Well, that's one way to shut down someone. So, can you think of more times when home cooks made inexcusable mistakes on the show? Don't forget to let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on the post notification. And if you want to watch another mind-bending video, then make sure to check out this next post right here. It's even crazier.